Welcome to another episode of A Candor Gander DFK Unmasked. We have a very special guest with us. Someone who's doxing himself for the first time. Check this out. I just learned this. You may be impressed. I certainly was. I was blown. It's Matty P. Esquire. Welcome, MattyPesq. Oh, let me unmute you
Love
because
that.
I've muted you. There we go. There we go.
Don't let people know that. You can't tell people that.
We have to go there. We have to go. Mr. Bless, how we doing? We've got Bogside intern in here. What's up? Hello, hello. So I will advocate for the intern. I don't know the intern. I don't know who the intern is. Intern needs a raise. They need a promotion. They need to
Oh
go
my
from
goodness.
intern to full-time staff.
Listen, you know what? He barely is going to get his college credits for his class that he's taking right now. So I don't even know if he deserves that.
Well, again, if you've not joined us before, feel free to hit that like, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitter. I'm at Sergeant Filthy. Matty Pasq, what's your Twitter handle?
Oh man, I should know it off the top of my head, shouldn't I? It's DFK Pesq.
DFK Pass.
Yeah.
Yeah, consider a follow. Grab a drink, take a seat, and just welcome to the flock. Come hang out. So Mr. Matty P.
Mm-hmm.
MattyPesq.
Yeah.
Tell us about yourself.
Yeah. I'm in DC. I'm in the East Coast. I feel like everybody is either West Coast or mid coast or mid, like middle of the country who follows like DFK. I don't know why there's no
Or
East Coast
Florida.
people.
Or
Yeah. I've heard that too. But yeah, a couple of my friends and I started chatting about this game. We were into crypto back from like 2017. We've been in crypto through the highs and the lows there. We started looking at this game, loved it. Started getting really into it. Started chat. We were chatting every night just on Discord, just chatting about it. And we're like, hey, why don't we publish this as podcasts and like get out there? So we did it, and now we're still doing it, even though there's been highs and lows even within the past few months.
Yeah, I mean, so Mr. Kupo is East Coast as well.
There you
You're up
go.
north, I think New Jersey, New York, if I'm not mistaken. I think
Yeah.
it's Jersey. But there's a handful of you. I think to your point though, I think maybe the more boisterous crowd is
Yeah.
Midwest, West Coast. We're pretty loud. We can be. I am. Um, but yeah, no, I mean, hey, East Coast, West Coast, wherever you are, we welcome you with open arms for sure. Um, so DFK, which one of the bunch got into DFK first? There's always a first who talks to the others, and then you kind of all jump in.
Yeah, so I definitely think. Well, I'll say this. I want to take credit. I wasn't the first to get into DFK. I know that for sure. But I was into a game, like I want to say 20. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was 2020 or 2021, early 2021, called Prospectors. I don't know if you like heard about it or whatever. It was like very early. It was like the whole point was like you were a gold miner, but you were mining an actual like token, like an actual crypto token that then like you could exchange. And I said to my friends, I was like, guys, like DeFi, like crypto in games is going to be a thing. Like this is wild. And that kind of like put it on our radar in general. But I believe it was Franz who found DeFi Kingdoms. And then from there, we all just like, guy kid got super into it, and I got super into it after that too. So but we were a
Yeah,
little bit late. We were like December. I think they were like late November, December into January of 2021 or 2022. Yeah,
I know it feels like, hey, 1995. It feels like it's been ages, but
I
it's been,
know.
you think about it, and it's been what, like, I guess a year and change. Although it doesn't feel that way with some of the stuff that's been going on.
Yeah.
You blink in crypto, and it's the price either pumped or dumped on any specific project you
Hmm.
were following. So you got into DFK because of a game you followed, sort of transpired, you guys chatted. How did you get into crypto as a whole?
That I mean, those guys got me in originally. Guy and Franz were in crypto early in 2017. Like they weren't like crazy early, but they were a little bit earlier than that like initial huge bull run. And I remember like we had like text threads where they were like, Matty, you got to, like you got to do this with us. And they they were definitely following it more than I was, so they pulled me in. I think there was definitely. I mean, I feel like a lot of people have that story of like, oh, this guy I know told me about it, so I had to do it after that. Like it was very, classic story like that.
Nice. Yeah. No. Hey, and you've stuck around. Is this your first like cycle? I take it.
What
Your
do you mean?
first like, as far as like we hit that high in 2021
Oh, I
where
mean, no,
things were
I
like
got in.
pumping,
It's like 2017,
okay.
like that summer, and then that. If you remember, I don't know if were you in it that early. I don't know, but like that when
I
you hit
was,
that
yeah.
Thanksgiving, it like blew up, and then like as soon as 2018 hit, it was like it's over. So I've kind of been through this like once now of the like hitting the high and then going low. So I'm not. I mean, yes, obviously I'm upset the value of a lot of the stuff that I'm in has gone down. But I feel like we can weather the storm. We'll be all right. We'll be all right.
So, you briefly mentioned Bauxite Chat. So how did that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you mentioned that got started, but who was the originator of the idea? Like, hey, let's go. We talk about it. Let's start streaming it. 'Cause I mean, it's sort of a polar extreme from like we're talking about it in private. They're like, let's make this public, and now you guys all have a following.
Yeah. So I think so. Very early on, if you remember, so like December into January, like the only people making content was like Tosh and Inner Grove, and the ADFK guys were like just getting started then too. But a lot of what they were saying and their opinions were based on, specifically like Tosh and Inner Grove. Those guys have massive wallets and were like, it was a very specific opinion about like how to come at the game and what to do and how you should be. Not that they were giving financial advice, but they definitely had a different opinion than say that I was going at it and how we were going at it, because we were investing in it and we were excited about it, but we weren't spending the same amount, especially at that point when it was like at floating around five, Jewel was like $5 to $10. So we were like, all right, there's no one talking about this game from the opinion of someone who isn't going to invest a lot. So let's create a podcast, or just create part of the community where we can talk about being a smaller wallet and not investing as much, but still participating in this game and how you go about it, because we were loving it so much and thought like, yeah, this would be fun to promote it and like get out there and just like form a podcast. I don't know, it's white guys in their 30s forming podcasts. I feel like it's natural.
It's you just got to do it, right? So
Yeah.
anyone out there who's considering a podcast, just do it. Hey, if I could
Yeah.
do it, anyone can do
Yeah.
it. And it's sort of interesting. It's an interesting dynamic with the game. I was very much of the mind where I came in January, and if you wanted to buy a hero, it was an arm and a leg, and let alone a handful of heroes. Um, and one of my biggest gripes is like, hey, price of entry, it's really expensive. You guys need devs, do something, devs, do something. And
Yeah.
now that the price is where it's at, and sort of the NFTs as a whole, yeah, whether it's Jewel or Crystal or Heroes, being what they are, price of entries, I think pretty prime for anyone who's not into the game as of yet. I I mean, all things considered, I think we would all love it for it to be $22 again. But the price being where it's at, I mean, is that something you're enjoying right now? Is that something you're taking advantage? I mean, how do you feel about the price point right now?
Right. Well, I shout out to Bogside Intern in the chat. We used to have a little like slogan at the top of our podcast that said like, we're a non-whale podcast. We don't have that many heroes. We don't have any Gen Zeros. And it rhymed, and we thought we were clever. But as the price went down, that changed, and now we can't say that because Franz and Guy Kid have each bought a Gen Zero, and now they're hero totals are over 100, or I don't know if they're both over 100, but I know France is over 100. And like myself, I guess I don't know. I'll share this. I'm close to 40 now. which is like very different from our initial approach of like, you know,
Oh yeah, yeah,
a
yeah,
small
yeah.
wallet. So I think we've very much enjoyed while it's down, because we've got to kind of build up our stable, but also it's kind of changed our little, you know, our social media podcast that we like doing. We had to kind of change that up a little bit, but I still think we're coming at it from a smaller wallet kind of perspective, you know.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I've had that same perspective too, where I mean, for the longest time, I considered myself, and I still do. I guess it's all perspective. I still consider myself sort of, small fish in a big pond. Um, but can you really say that with 100 heroes? I don't know. um,
I mean, compared to, especially compared to say like, you know, Crypto Grady, who's out there, you know, talking every day about how he's got, you know, 1,200 heroes. I mean, yes, we're small
right.
compared to him, but I don't know if he's you know, he's the 1%, right?
Right, right, right. No, and that's interesting you bring that up. And maybe I can't think of a better segue than that. Dark summoning. Um, we have to chat.
Love it.
I know you've been pumped. I know many of us have been pumped. I think of dark summoning as being an opportunity for the average DFK player, the average wallet, maybe the small wallet, sort of get
Totally.
in and do game changing things. I think at the detriment maybe of someone with a with deep pockets, or someone who's really invested a lot into trying to create these perfect heroes. Because now you have the opportunity to create a Dread Knight at dirt cheap prices, conceivably, potentially, at least in comparison, right? So tell me, because I know you've been really pumped. What are your takes on dark summoning?
Yeah, so I'm really excited. I think this is going to be such an awesome uh, tool for the entire environment. Now, yes, I think maybe, you know, I think Grady is a great example because he says every single hero that he has of his 1,200, he uses stones and crystals to level his heroes up. Those heroes who are super beefy and level 10 are probably not good candidates for this dark summoning, you know. But that's because he's coming at it from a different perspective as somebody, you know, like myself, where I'm looking at floor heroes that match some of my heroes that I don't like, and I'm like, oh, I could burn both of them and maybe make an elite or an advanced hero out of that. You know, because I can get them for cheap because they're 0 of 0, you know. So I think this is a great way to, number one, kill a lot of heroes, which I'm just gonna come out and say that it's a great way to kill heroes. And number two, I think it's a great way where it's for smaller wallets and for people who don't have some of the resources as some of these whales to create heroes that might be competitive, you know. So I think it's awesome overall.
What do you think it does for the value of all our heroes? I mean, because honestly, I think of some of those garbage heroes that even I created back when I didn't know anything. And I said, "Oh, hey, two heroes, let's match them up. Let's create a new one." Um, I suspect, I imagine that you burn those heroes, you burn these bad heroes, um, and overall, it would potentially create an opportunity for all our heroes, sort of, increase in value. Maybe is that maybe where you're thinking of it as well?
I mean, I don't know. Obviously, in crypto, it's super hard to predict. You know, I've seen it. I've seen people be like, you know, this is it. This is for sure going to increase the value of something, and then obviously nothing happens. But you know, logically and reasonably speaking, it's a tool that destroys heroes, makes less of them, so therefore it should go up in value. You know, and that's how I see it. Obviously, who knows? We will see. I think we won't get data on this for like 2 or 3 weeks, and hopefully, you know, obviously, Mr. Zipper is gonna punch out some sort of awesome bot that tells us all the stats, but like I think it's great. I think it's going to decrease the supply, and I think that's good no matter what.
So here's a question for you. Do you think, big picture,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a year down the road, the best hero on paper is a dark summoned hero and not an organically summoned hero?
I mean, I think that's tough. I think they'll be competitive with one another. I think like hypothetically, the best dark summoned hero. versus the best like PJ crystal enhanced hero. They're going to be competitive, but it's possible one could be better than the other based on, there's also RNG of the level ups. I mean, I think it's hard to say like one is definitively going to be better than the other, but I think I think it adds an opportunity for some from if your strategy is buy crystals, buy stones, and that's all you're doing, it now has there's now a different avenue of how you can maybe compete with those heroes. I think it just makes the game more dynamic.
Right, right, right. No, no, absolutely. Now, did you? I think you had mentioned you had Dark Summon, maybe a hero too. You were telling me off air, but could you recap for everyone? So, what did you do, and why did you do it?
Yeah, so I had a couple heroes that I didn't necessarily love. I wasn't in love with them, and I went and found some matches, just kind of at the floor. Um, Specifically, I had a rare knight, and I found a rare warrior who had a matching subclass. Um, and so I did a dark summon with them and got a rare paladin, which was like a great hit. I was pretty pumped for. I also had a dark knight that I didn't love. I again found a paladin to match with him. They did not create a goon, but I still have a paladin from that. So it's not like the end of the world. I'm not crazy upset again because I found a floor paladin for like 40-ish crystal, and like I'm not upset about it. Like, yeah, it wasn't a hit, but like, and again, it was like 15 crystal for the dark summon. It's so cheap to do the dark summon. So 15 crystal, so 50-ish crystal for a goon chance. I'm fine with that. Like, that's awesome. That's cheaper than you're gonna get, in a regular going for it in a standard way.
Oh, no kidding. So, so those heroes you purchased to be able to do those summons, when did you pick them up?
Right after the AMA. I was
Okay.
on there
Yeah.
immediately, looking for
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
because the floors did go up. They kind of leveled back down, but the floors shot up a little bit like a couple days after that announcement. So I was on there like that afternoon, that Thursday.
So you've been pumped on dark summoning. I mean, overall, do you think we'd reflect back and think of it as, hey, that was a great idea, or, it was awesome and great in spirit. However, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Where do you think on the spectrum, the community will reflect back on dark summoning?
I mean, that's tough. I mean, I think we'll see how it plays out. Like I said, I think we need more data. I mean, right now, although I will say, there, shout out to the team. They've done a couple like little things that are super cool. The like town crier guy who has the board in the middle of the marketplace, he
Yeah,
now has total deaths on his board when you click it, which is like very cool just to see how many people
that
are
is
burning their
super
heroes.
cool.
I also love the animation. Have you seen the animation when you actually dark summon?
None of
Oh,
it, no.
oh, I don't want to spoil it for you. It is amazing. I
Is
don't,
it okay?
they
So,
I'm gonna tell you, but I,
so,
sorry, go.
so, no, no, yeah, no comment here from Boxhead Intern. I mean, real tempting on dark summing, but do you recommend waiting until you're 0-0 on a dark summon? I mean, for you, your perspective, I know you opted for 0-0 dark
Yeah,
summoned heroes, but I mean, is that something? I mean, what's your take on that?
I think that's interesting because I personally, I'm okay dumping, especially if it's like a Gen 1 at like 5 of 10, or you know what I mean? Like when you've already done those first few, I'm definitely fine with that. Like I haven't dark summoned any 10 of 10s. I haven't summoned any 5 of 5 advance. Like I don't know if I will, to be honest, because I feel like there's so much value in that. And I don't know if it's that much of a bonus on the rarity that adds, but I can understand if you wanted to go for it. But I think for me, that's too risky because you could. I think there's you could sell those or rent those out. The value of it on the market is going to be higher, and especially too, just like let's wait and see what happens in the next like week or so with floor values. I really struggle burning up those 10 of 10s or those 5 of 5s. I don't think I would.
So, as far as dark summoning, do you think you're done? Do you think you'll do more?
Oh, I'm definitely gonna do more. Yeah,
Okay.
I have a couple other pairs that there's actually. So do you know the like the level thing? If the heroes are whatever their average level is, the new hero gets that. So I have one who's like a level. I have one that's like a level 2 and one that's a level 3. But the level 3 is almost to level 4. So I'm gonna level him up, and then I'll have it'll be a level 3. So I have a couple pairs like that where I'm trying to get to that next level up, and then I'll probably do them.
What do you think of this comment? Dark summoning would have been better with no fees and only transaction costs.
Well, yeah, obviously it'd be way better if it was free. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to tell you there. I
So,
mean,
so I guess here's the question: Is the so because I think it brings up an interesting point in my head. The intention of dark summoning, is that for the purpose, or is that for the benefit of us, the players? Is it for the benefit of burning crystal? Is it, what's the real
yeah.
intention behind dark summoning, in your opinion?
You see, I that's tough because I mean that's a fair point. I guess I'm coming at it from the approach that it's helping players, but I think that's just in general that's my perspective on the game. I'm always thinking about like smaller, people that aren't like dumping tons of money into it. Just like individuals, how can individuals get a leg up? And I think this is a great way for individuals to get a leg up to those heroes that are, like I've never had a crystal or a stone better than lesser. Like that's just not that's not how I come at this game. So stuff like that, I think this is a great advantage for players like that to hopefully get a hero that others are more likely to buy.
So from your perspective, are you in the short term, I'd say in the next month or two,
Yeah,
presuming dark summoning lives on that long? Because as far as I know, there isn't a drop deadline as to when that goes
doesn't
away, if
seem
it
like it.
goes
Yeah.
away. Do you see yourself doing more dark summoning than regular summoning?
Great question. I think right now, see, I don't know, because dark summoning, I feel like there has to be a point where I look at my hero totals and I'm like, all right, hold on, I can't be killing all of them, like so I'd say short term, I'm going to be looking at dark summoning the next month, but in the long term, I think at some point there'll be an equilibrium where I go back to I love finding a good 10 of 10 pair. Like that's a great that's something I enjoy doing. I love scouring the tavern and finding those matches. So I think at some point I'll go back to that. But then the dark summoning aspect of it will definitely be a part of it, of like when they get to 6 of 10, 5 of 10, 4 of 10, when do you make that decision to like throw them into the dark summon? I think it'll just change up how I look at it, but I think eventually it'll be, equal. Maybe not equal, but more balanced.
No, I love it. Any other thoughts on dark summoning before we move on to a different segment?
No, seriously, shout out to the team, the animation and the art. It's very cool. I love it. I'm gonna spoil it for you. They throw 2 body bags into the lava when you're doing the dark summon. It's awesome. It's very
Oh,
cool. It's
that
very
is super
fun.
cool.
I like
I'll,
it.
I'll,
Yeah.
I'll end it on this note. My one hesitation is sort of that FOMO piece. I reflect back on PJ, and in my head I was like, I would never send all my heroes
Sure.
on this
Yeah.
PJ quest, and now it's like I wish I had more heroes to have sent, because
Yeah.
it was lucrative for those who who were able to send as many heroes as they could. So I'll probably do one or two, right? Just to participate and partake, and maybe find those heroes I don't care for as much, and maybe pair them up with someone, someone in the tavern, um for
Well,
that
also,
very
and I'll say
reason.
too, one thing that Franz and I were talking about was, if your hero has like 2 or 3 level ups where they just strike out, they're immediately a candidate. Like if you don't get those hits, you're just like, you're out, bud.
That's brilliant. I had not thought about that, right?
Yeah,
RNG, if you get screwed over, I mean, or vice versa. I guess depending on how you've been playing it. Presuming like my first couple heroes, I was willy nilly sort of like, and now I'm gonna
yeah,
boost that and this and that, and I've got some pretty degenerate looking sort of stat wise heroes where it's like, oh boy, like maybe you need to go on this quest you never come back
yeah.
from.
Just super
sort of
strong
offer
wizards,
redemption.
just some wizards who are just ripped. Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a really wise archer with like terrible decks who
Yeah.
came back from PJ. It's like how do I have a PJ archer with
Yeah.
less than 20 decks? I
I
mean, I
wouldn't
don't
I
know how I
wouldn't
did
burn
that.
anybody who survived PJ, but
And absolutely, I mean, yes. Before Bless comes at me and and scolds me for wanting to burn a PJ hero, no, absolutely, I wouldn't do it either. But
yeah.
I mean, there are opportunities where
No, yeah, totally.
maybe you've been burned one too many times by RNG, and it's time to sort of start anew. Um, yeah, no, and I agree with you, Bless. We all wanted this burn mechanic on NFTs, and they've provided, and it's up to you whether or not you want to take advantage of it and sort of make use of it. But um, for those of us who were itching for it, and I know I was, I think it'll be good in the long term. To this point, I think I can comfortably say anything I've ever had my doubts on with a team attack. Why would you do that? It's been to our benefit. I mean, one
Yeah.
example, obviously, at DFK Chen, I was one of those guys who was like, "What are you guys doing?" Blah, 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 blah. And lo and behold, I mean, I think it's what saved all our keysters. Anyhow, with that said, let's transition to this other segment. We'll end on Fight Club, but I was
Mm.
teasing out this segment, sort of in the spirit of Halloween. I know it's over, but it's Day of the Dead. Let me butcher my own culture here, and so we'll toss in this Devil's Advocate piece,
Ooh, all
a
right.
few a few statements, and I want you to argue one side and not try and argue the other.
Okay.
I think there'll be every statement will be more ridiculous than the last potentially, in no
Okay.
specific order. I'm coming up with these off the cuff here, but let's start with this one. Dread Knights, they're overrated.
Can I well, can I nitpick it? Can I
Nitpick it,
say
yes.
common Dread Knights are overrated? And then you have to
Why?
argue common Dread Knights are not overrated?
I would say, yeah, so I would say common Dread Knights are not overrated because the amount of I know they're, if you look at them in the market, I think I was overhearing maybe Grady talk about how floor price on Dread Knights like 1,500 Crystal. um I even then, I mean, when you look at NFT assets, I mean, all these heroes, they on paper they're your best hero, common or not. Presumably a common Dread Knight would be better than a common Sage, common Dragoon down the line. And if you're a small wallet holder, I mean, if that's the best you can attain, is that something you're gonna burn? I know I heard Grady talking about wanting to burn
Oof.
some Dread Knights. I mean, I could never.
Same.
So I would say that they're definitely keepers.
Right.
So what do you think?
Yeah, so let me make this argument because I think common Dread Knights. I first off, I agree. I would never burn them. I have two sages right now and a few advanced, and even my advanced, I'm like, oh, I shouldn't burn them. I should. I debate it. But the point is, I think if you're going to spend the money and get a Dread Knight, if you're getting a common Dread Knight, I mean, if you're getting a Dread Knight in general, you're thinking about the end game. You're thinking about PvP. You're thinking about buying one of the strongest heroes in the game, potentially. The common Dread Knight is just not going to be able to compete with the uncommon, the rare, and certainly not the legendary and the mythic ones. I know those are super rare, but the common Dread Knight is not going to be a hero that you can face off against with the top percent. These elite squads that are going to be full of Dread Knights that are going to just like wipe the floor with everybody. You can't compete if you have just one common Dread Knight. That's not going to be enough for you to be at the top echelon. So I think they're overpriced and not worth it.
However, I agree with you on
Yeah,
many levels, but arguing the
sure. No,
opposite,
I get the concept here. Yeah,
you
I
don't
get
you
it.
don't you don't want to be, you don't necessarily need to be in the top 10 to be financial, to get your ROI. in
Sure.
game, right? I mean, what if you're just trying to beat average players? I mean, I would argue that a common Dread Knight could conceivably potentially
Yeah.
beat out your average DFK player.
I think that's interesting. Obviously, we'll have to see what the PvP looks like, but I would be very curious if a team of rare and legendary elites and advanced, no Dread Knights, went up against a team that had one common Dread Knight and then maybe a couple other advanced and elites. If that other team had some sort of strategy or move set that like matched each other that was very specific, and would the common Dread Knight just get in the way of that other team just because they forced it in. I think. Well, I hope that's how the PvP works. Where like that actually, works that way. But I think and again, you're right. You're totally right on the ROI stuff. You're going to be better than a big portion, if not a majority of players. But I'm saying if you're going for a Dread Knight, if you're in the market for a Dread Knight, common is just not going to get you to that top echelon.
Now, to further argue, because there's so many levels to
I
this,
love it. Yeah.
I would argue that a common Dread Knight with, here's where it gets tricky, with maybe an elite or transcendent ability could conceivably
Sure. Yeah.
be
Yeah.
better than maybe a
Totally.
mythic Dread Knight. I mean, I don't know. I mean, PvP could change things up, and I think we've all been told that's absolutely going to play a role, but how much of a role, I guess we don't know. You get a lot of X variables, and I would say that depending on how your Dread Knight's built out,
Yeah.
maybe it's
Good
not
point.
overrated. Let's take on a next question.
Yeah.
Let's see where you fall, and I'll try and argue the opposite
All
side
right.
here. If you're not body, you're not playing DFK.
Oof. I don't know. I don't know if I can take a strong opinion on this. I think yes, I agree to some level. I'm not going to be able to form a strong argument, but let me jump in. I'll go first on this one. I think I will say I've thrown now like eight-ish heroes into a bot wallet that I share with some of the other Bogside guys, and I absolutely love it. They're all doing training quests. They're my level 9s, my level 10s, and it's just beautiful, and I love it. And I'm so much happier in my life now that I don't have to worry about. I have one guy. I have my first hero about to get to level 11, and I'm overjoyed because like I don't have to think about it because like you have to quest so freaking much, and it's so brutal, and it's just so easy just to put him there and be like, oh, I don't have to think about it. And I don't see the negative in terms of hurting small wallet players. I think I don't know. I struggle with this because also I understand I'm lucky and privileged that we formed a group and I was able to throw my heroes into this wallet and we pay for the service. So I don't know. That's a bad argument.
Yeah,
I
so
don't know.
I'm gonna say that you could absolutely play the game without botting. I think it
Yeah.
makes sense if you have, maybe under 20 heroes. I think you could potentially successfully do it. And if you're diligent about, setting those alarms and at what cost, I think you get
Yeah.
into a cost benefit analysis where like, hey, you know what, my time is valuable. However, I don't want to, or I can't, or I don't see the need to. They've made it easier. I mean, with a new multi-questing feature,
Sure.
they've made it easier to quest. It's definitely a bit more time consuming. I I I was questing 90 some heroes manually for the
Ooh.
longest time, and let's just not talk about that. But you
Yeah.
could do it now. Could you do it as, is it going to set you back in the long term? I think if you're really trying to be competitive, if you're trying to be in that top 10%, it becomes hard. But again,
Yeah.
are you aiming to be that number one or, a top 10 percenter? If you are, it's really hard to do it potentially without botting. But if you're not, if you want to just be better than your average DFK player, because all you really need to do is be better than average, maybe long term it ends up being beneficial for you financially, then sure, you can absolutely do it. But I guess
See,
your perspective is how do you want to go about it?
yeah, I guess that's interesting too. Also, and I know everybody loves talking to ROI and EV and money and stuff like that, but like, what's the value of you going insane, setting alarms, and just like constantly worrying about it? I mean, obviously, I can't assign a dollar value to that, but like, that's a negative. That's not good, you know. Like, that's got to be part of it, and that quality of life has to be considered here. Of like sitting there worried that like your guy's not going to get the maximum amount, which like I know people I love playing video games. I'm not as, you know, obsessive about like 100%ing as others, but like I get that mentality from like a gaming perspective of like you want that maximum. Um but like that's just not, it's not for me in my life. I don't want that. So I, you know what I mean? Like I got to use these bots cuz that's how I'm not going to get to level 11 otherwise, you know?
And I have to completely agree. I mean, yes, I've had to sort of take that on as well. I mean, quality of life, it's totally there. You know, I didn't realize how much more time I have to myself. I could potentially do all these. You could do some arbitrage, DJ stuff in
Sure.
DFK if you wanted to. You could do Fight Club. You could do
Yeah.
dueling. You could all do all these things, right? And Break, I sympathize with you. I was questing a bunch of heroes manually, but when I went the bot route, I realized how much more time I was getting back. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. Um, is it the only way to go about it? Absolutely not.
No,
But
yeah.
is it the best? I mean, I
Yeah.
guess we'll find out with time, right? Here's another one for you.
All right.
Jewel is the only DFK asset to own.
Ooh. Why don't you pick what you want? I'll play the other side.
So I'm gonna say yes. Jewel
Okay.
is the DFK NFTs aside. If we're talking
Sure, sure,
about
sure. Yeah,
other,
yeah, yeah,
if you heroes aside, right? If you're
yeah.
talking about assets in general, Jewel is the only deflationary asset in game that I'm aware of. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's the only deflationary asset. I would go further and say that even with Gen Zeros, every new land you get, a whole new set of Gen Zeros. So even Gen Zeros aren't deflationary; they're sort of unique, and you won't get hundreds of thousands of them. Um, but Jewel's deflationary. Maybe now it's not the asset to own. On paper, it doesn't look to be right, but long term, I would argue that sure it is.
Yeah, I think obviously I think in general, yes, I do love Jewel. I obviously have a bag too. But I will say one thing that you hear all through the crypto world, utility. I mean, Crystal is going to get used. Jade, when it comes out, potentially if it functions the same way, it's going to get used. We're going to be daily buying and selling heroes, doing our quests, doing all these things. It's going to have utility where Jewel, yes, they've told us, it's potentially there'll be this, S Jewel, C Jewel, there'll be some sort of stuff going on, but utility is what pushes, value most part in crypto. I mean, that's not a universal rule, I know, but for the most part, that's what you're looking for. And Crystal and Jade have built in a game built in where there's going to be utility. I think all three are going to have value. I don't know if you could say this is why I'm against this statement of like it's the one asset to own. I think there's value in owning all of them.
No, absolutely. And I think in truth, I mean, I sort of fall in line with what you're saying. Um, is it the best? Is it, it could be, right? Is it going to be valuable? I think it'll certainly be valuable long term. Is it going to be any better than Crystal? I mean, I don't know. But it's certainly an asset to own at the very least, especially with C Jewel and S Jewel coming out. I
Yeah.
mean, it makes sense to own. Um, at least a couple here. Big picture, bullish on Jewel for you?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, all the deflationary stuff. I mean, hypothetically, when Sarandale 2.0 comes out, I hope that everyone starts to realize how much Jewel is going to be value. I mean, they're getting rid of such a large percentage of it, or at least not, what's the right phrasing on that? Like not creating more of them. I don't know. I think that it's going to be valuable long term.
All right, so here's another one.
Yeah.
Your window to buy a Gen Zero is limited. If you're thinking about buying a Gen Zero, it's closing. What do you think?
Oh, 100%. I think that's true. I don't know how you argue against that. Well, I mean, I guess we'll say, we're in a bear market. It could get uglier, and maybe they'll go down. But in my opinion, this game, these devs have hit speed bumps, but they've pushed through, and they're still building in a bear market. They're just producing more, and the Gen Zeros are the like main what's the word, like main motivator of the entire ecosystem. Like, they're key to create new heroes. I think their value is only going to go up in the future here as more players come in, which is again hopeful. I know that's a hopeful statement, but we always kind of say that as soon as more players come in, those Gen Zeros are just going to get more and more valuable. I don't see it. As long as the game keeps producing and expanding, I think those Gen Zeros are only going to see higher value.
So we've got a couple comments here.
Yeah.
Someone saying they should definitely save up for Gen Zeros. I'm sleeping on. I'm conflicted. I've had that inner dialogue where it's like, should I not? I think for me, I appreciate and I value the perceived liquidity of having Jewel or Crystal or whatever asset I could sort of pull out, and if I needed to exit and sort of run for whatever reason, or tap into that for whatever reason I could. I've seen Gen Zeros or any hero really sort of sit around for a minute, and it becomes hard to end up picking up or sort of offloading that asset. I don't know. I've not seen the Gen Zero floor price lately, so I don't know where it stands. But, I know for the longest time it was sort of diminishing. It was sort of coming down in price significantly. I mean, certainly, if you look back a couple months, go compared to now, night and day. And
I think
then
14K crystal is about the floor usually.
Okay. Yeah, and then we have people like Mr. The Beeve here, who's summoning as much as he can to try and get his hands on a Gen Zero. And I'm of the same ilk. I want to summon as much as I can. Or at least one. If you're not in it, you're not going to win it. So maybe one or two. To at least get your name in there. But it's just. So I guess I'll ask you, if you had the liquid funds for a Gen Zero, would you buy a Gen Zero today?
Yes. I think I've debated this I've debated this a lot of like going for it. I think I am not ready to like right now pull that out of my wallet and pay for it right now. Like, I'm not ready to do that. Which is like what I should. I do want to say that again. Obviously not financial advice, but like I always try to at least, whatever I put into this game, I'm ready for it to go to zero, and I'm not going to be that upset. So I'm not ready to put more than that into the game. So right now it's too much for me personally, but if all of a sudden I had a windfall, 100%, I think I would do it. I think they're super valuable, and I think from here, but they might go down in the next little bit. We'll see how the Clayton rollout comes out, but then, months down the road there, I only see them going up in value.
So on the subject of Gen Zeros, land will be more valuable than a Gen Zero.
I think yes.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I think, well, I hope so. I think I I think when guilds come out and when there's actual, in-game function of guilds, and I'm assuming they involve land. I guess that's my big assumption on this. As long as guild and land are kind of synonymous, then land is going to be more valuable. Now, if that doesn't happen, then I don't know for sure what land value will be. But as long as those two things are associated, and this game has like legitimate guild wars, guild battles of some sort, guild trading, I think land will be linked with that, and it'll be awesome to own land. That's my hope and dream.
So Raph just walked in at the right opportune moment. We're
Of course he
talking land.
did. Yeah.
So for those of you who've just joined us, we're counter arguing one side or the other,
Mhm.
whether or not we believe on the side we're
Yeah.
taking. So I'm going to take the counter here and say that there's no definitive amount of land that will be created. Right now we are at 100, but they've not said we're capping this at X amount of land. I mean, with that being not known, I mean, land may not be as valuable as a Gen Zero, depending on how much is sort of great. I guess you could also make the argument depending on where the land is, right? There's been speculation. I think there's been something said about the closer you are to certain
Right.
areas,
Yeah.
the more that land will appreciate. But I mean, thoughts there.
Well, and I think Raph is commenting on it. They did say originally. Now this was a while ago, and I don't know if you could keep it. That each expansion will have 250, so there'll be a total
Okay.
of 1,000 lands.
Oh.
Um, but I don't know. I mean, that was back before. That's when they thought Harmony was going to be the home base forever. So that might have changed, but I think they have a plan for having at least some plan of having a definitive number that is the end of land. Because I think I agree with you. Like if it was never ending and they could just add more land constantly, I agree. Yes, obviously it's going to go down in value if that's the case. But I think they do have a plan of like there being a total that is hit and then that's it for land. Um, but I can understand what you're saying of infinite growth. It's going to lead to land being a dime a dozen.
Okay. Okay. No, that's fair. All right. So let's move on to another one. If you're not thinking about a guild now, you're at a disadvantage.
This is tough because I don't know if you know, the Bogside crew has said that we're joining up with Raff and Neindorf as part of the ADFK guild. So I'm going to be very biased here because I'm going to be very guild positive. Um, so I'm gonna, but also at the same time, I think the game there'll be an opening for people to play and not be part of a guild. At least I hope there is. If there's not, I feel like that's bad for the ecosystem. I think there'll still be roles for people, for individuals to get in and do things and interact with the guild in certain ways. Um, you know, at the same time, though, I do think being part of a guild will have huge advantages. Yeah, so I guess, man, I'm doing a bad job of choosing a side here.
No, no, yeah, and I guess without choosing a side, I really think that if you're not thinking about choosing or looking into guild now, it's gonna become considerably harder. I think what makes it hard for me is there's, as far as I know, and I could be wrong, there's not been any sort of here's what you should be thinking about with guilds. Like, is there a cap? Is there, can you have X amount? Are you gonna be required to own land? I know there's land utility sort of will make a difference, but are you gonna need to own land to be able to create a guild? There's so many unknown variables. For me, I think that's part of what's holding me back from committing to something. Um, I'm sort of involved in all these different communities, and there's talks about, hey, this or that, or let's get together. And even groups of people who are like, hey, the five of us are doing something. But I will say something. I will say this much, that I think when Raph made his formal announcement of, hey, we're creating an ADFK guild, I've heard more chatter about like people like, hey, we're gonna team up and we're gonna team up. I think you've really helped, or that that sort of action and sort of making it very public has helped people who were maybe on the fence or unsure or uncertain about joining up to sort of really start having these conversations like, hey, you know what, if we don't start recruiting, all these really good wallets are going to be picking sides, and we may be left hanging. So maybe the opposite side, if you're thinking about creating a guild and you're not recruiting now, are you at a disadvantage?
Well, that's interesting. That's an interesting, very interesting idea of if you and like five friends are sitting around and are not, interacting with the community. First off, you're welcome to, and we would love to have you. But also, maybe you're right. Maybe right now we're, especially because we are. You're right. We're in the early stage. We don't know. We don't know what guilds are going to look like. We had a big debate on one of our podcasts about being a validator, or of like, will the guild be required to be a DFK subnet validator? Like, that's a weird. I don't think that'll be part of it, but like, there's so many weird things and aspects of this that we don't know yet. That obviously that could change your opinion of it.
And
Or
and, and you know, and I
yeah.
and I know you've been sort of more sort of knee deep and maybe a bit more familiar on the concept of guilds outside of
Yeah.
DFK in general. I mean, for a question like this, what's the benefits of joining a guild? I mean, could you talk briefly about that?
Oh, yeah.
I know you guys have really, you and Raf have really gotten into this conversation sort of knee deep, but um briefly maybe sort of recap what the benefit could be potentially, maybe even outside of DFK, but just a guild in general.
Yeah. So also, I pull a lot of my info from Guy Kid, who's part of the Bog Side. He was a huge WoW guy, and he ran like raiding parties. Um, and I never got into it, but he tells like war stories, like he was in the trenches, of World of Warcraft. But yeah, I think right now we have an Xearn wallet where you can like throw in your hero and it's questing, and then the entire guild. There's a guild wallet that gets crystal and gold based on those quests. There's items that the guild exclusively auctions within the guild, so that like you could put a bid in for if someone finds an egg, you throw a bid in. And I think there's only been one or two eggs in our wallet, but like they go for significantly lower than what you find like on the market. So like there's that item, like that guild wallet aspect of it. There's also just the community of like shooting each other messages of like, hey, what do you think of this or whatever, shooting ideas off one another, just like community stuff. Um, and Raf has, he's an idea guy. He's an idea guy. I've been in chats with him and the other Boxside guys, and he's pumped up. He's got huge plans. He wants to do a lot of stuff. He's got a cool idea that he's calling his affiliate program, where he's like reaching out to people like DFK Fight Club and like other groups like that to try and bring like new devs into building stuff for DFK, or stuff like that. Like, he is pumped, and he is, like I said, he's an idea man. So it's just fun being in with him and talking with him about stuff like this. So those are all the benefits of being part of a guild. That's at least that's what I've experienced.
Yeah, no, and kudos to Raf. I say what's good for the goose is good for the gander. I mean,
Well,
really,
hold
I
on,
mean,
that's the name of the thing, right? There you go. Right.
hey, yeah,
You
no
said the
pun
name of the thing.
intended. I think we'll end on this question before we talk Fight Club.
Yeah.
Clinton community will give the rest of us a run for our money.
Well,
They're
what does
just
that
gonna
mean?
hit the
Yeah,
run.
define that for me.
So because the Clinton community, conceivably such a gaming community, they're gonna jump in here, and if you're not, if you blink, they're gonna own DFK players who are currently playing, who are maybe not optimizing the way they're doing things.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, South Korea is like real when it comes to esports. So I don't know. I don't have the experience or knowledge on that. I think I would hope they would just join the community and not conquer it. But Yeah, I mean, could be. You're right. It could be, and I think that'd be fun. Hopefully, be a fun challenge of, if they want to, go for the crown. I don't know. I don't know anything about the community there and what it would bring to this, so I'm excited for it.
I love DFK and the DFK community, but we're very much in love with each other, which is great. But I
Yeah,
welcome competition.
yeah, yeah, sure.
I want this crew to come in and think they wanna, think they're
Yeah,
gonna own the place, and then create some sort of really competition amongst ourselves. And yes, there are very competitive DFK players who are very nice, but
oh
they're
yeah.
competitive nonetheless. But I would love to see them come in and sort of just give us a run for our money.
I mean, that's what I am so pumped for the idea of guild. I mean, I don't want to say guild wars because I don't know what it will look like. I don't know if it'll actually be like, you know, you fight for land, but I love the idea of, even if it's just economics, like guilds forming alliances and trade routes and like actually having effect on the map. Like I love that. That's such a cool idea to me, That sounds like such a fun game. And I would love the challenge of like another alliance coming in and disrupting that. Like, why not? Let's do it. That'd be super cool.
I like the way Raph is thinking. He's thinking about recruiting players, and he's not saying this, but here's what he's thinking. He wants to recruit Korean players so that they could be arbitrator, so that they could
Sure.
be sort of,
Yeah.
peacekeepers, or sort of, hey, if you can't beat them, join them type of thing, or your
Or
enemy is my
spies,
enemy.
Raph. Easy.
Spies. I know. I see what you're doing. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I will. I will say, there's a bunch more questions. The other one I was thinking about maybe just discussing. I'll add one more before we move
Yeah.
to Fight Club, because I want to
Lightning
hear your
round.
take
Let's
on
go
this.
quick. Yeah.
Lightning round. Here you go. Duels dies when PvP comes out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I haven't loved duels. Just the art, the randomness of duels. I've never loved. So potentially, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It depends on the rewards for PvP. Obviously, like if it's nothing, if you get nothing from PvP, then just keep dueling. I guess.
Yeah, no, and I wanted to hear your take on that. I agree. I mean, there's probably room for duels to continue, depending on how PvP is built out as far as pricing, or
Yeah.
if you have maybe a run of the mill hero, DFK duels continues to be maybe potentially profitable for you as
Yeah.
far as your rewards, given the sort of randomness of what you're competing against. So with that said, Fight Club, we've all talked about it. Hello, Rock. Hello. We've all talked about it. Give us sort of a brief synopsis for those of you who haven't been bombarded by any of us chatting about it.
Yeah. So Fight Club is, I should know, like we do a little opening to all our little videos. I should know like the exact sentence, but it's a third-party app that is part of the DeFi Kingdoms metaverse, I guess if you want to say. You can find it in the castle through the Jester. I hope I got that right. Not the Archivist, right? No, it's the Jester. And it is a game based on Discord that lets you battle your NFT heroes versus another opponent's NFT heroes. Basically, letting you have a skill-based fight with your NFTs, which is super cool, and which is what we wanted, which is what we want. We want PvP, and this game creates that. It's very cool. I mean, that's the basic rundown. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what I'm looking for. But now that we've given a basic rundown, tournament starts tomorrow, right?
Yes. If you haven't registered, you can do it right now. And France will be very cranky about it because he wanted to get them all done tonight, but just submit everything tonight and he'll do it tomorrow morning.
Do you know how many people have registered so far?
We have 31 at last time I checked. When we started chatting, it might have changed in the past few minutes, but
and I will say this much: you don't have to be good.
no.
You can be very run of the mill.
Yeah.
I've been the benefactor of I've been eliminated round one each time, but the first time I was lucky enough to get one of the consolation prizes, which was very awesome. Thank you very much,
Yeah.
Raph. It was a Gen Zero summon. It was a
Ooh, very nice.
505 Paladin.
Oh, damn, you hit the
Yeah,
advance. That's awesome.
I did. Yeah, and it was a professional line. It was a gardener with all the right stats.
That's awesome.
Super awesome. Second time around, I didn't win. I got eliminated first round, but I got 100 crystals
Nice.
again.
Well,
Just
I have good news for you. This
yes.
tournament is a little bit different format. They're doing it
Okay.
not exactly, but closer to kind of like the World Cup, where there's groups in the beginning. So you're guaranteed at least 2 matches, at least double elimination.
Oh,
So even if you're
that is
bad and never
great.
played before, you guaranteed at least two matchups. Uh, yeah, we've been working on the formats because there were some people that like participated and lost first round. So you got you got a chance, and you get 2 matchups. So you got to do it.
Yes. Yes, it's really unfair. I got paired up, matched up against Pouring last time.
Oh, that's tough.
That is tough. I should have at least made it past round one, and I didn't. The last plug I'll give is for myself, November 18th. If you are in the Southern California area, we're doing a meetup in
Oh,
North
shit.
San Diego County in person. If you're not in San Diego or in the Southern California area and you want to fly in, come hang out with us. Christian Peter, myself, a few other DFK community members who half of them happen to be lawyers. We'll have to talk about that subject at some point, Maddie.
Oh,
Um,
no.
um,
I can't believe there's too
uh,
many lawyers in DFK.
there's a bunch of you guys. What
I
is it?
know.
I feel like I need to get a law degree just to hang,
True.
but yeah, no, if you're in San Diego, if you're in Southern California on November 18th, we'll be hanging out at a brewery. It's good time, hang out with some DFK DJs in person, come hang out. For you all who are content creators, I think I heard maybe Raph, maybe Grady, maybe Rock, I think mentioned it. Bogside Check Crew. The idea of meeting up in person sounds exciting to me. That's just how
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
sort of
totally.
wired. Be able to meet some of the community members. And for me, it's a bit different, maybe for you than for some of you. My in real life friends do not care for DFK, so meeting some in real life people who do
Yes.
sounds tantalizing and sort of exciting.
Yeah, you gotta keep it to yourself that you love NFTs. You can't be promoting that
It's
openly,
just
you know?
yeah, you leave yourself open for like
Yeah, yeah.
what's an NFT? You
Yeah,
want
you don't
a
want that. Yeah,
JPEG?
yeah.
Some closing remarks from you, Matty P.
Yeah, like I said, everybody, you can still sign up for the DFK Fight Club tournament. It is a lightweight, which is like a category we created. So no heroes over level 4. Your whole crew can't be higher than level 8. So anybody can participate in this one. You're not going to get like stomped by somebody who has high level heroes. Like it's created specifically so that everybody, levels the playing field. It's really about your strategy in playing the game. Which is, I think, I love that, especially compared to duels. It just frustrates me so much in duels because it's just so random, and you have nothing. You're sitting there helpless as you watch the duel happen, and that's why I love DFK Fight Club so much, because it's really like your choice to, you put your tank in the front and your healer in the back. Like there's all this strategy in like a classic RPG. So go check out DFK Fight Club, even if you don't, do this tournament. Go check it out at least. Links are everywhere, or find him in the castle. And then check out Bogside Chats. Yeah, I got to promote. Obviously, got to promote, right? Yeah,
I know, absolutely, absolutely. I want to have you guys back.
totally.
I feel like I've been piecemealing the team, friends
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
first. Maybe we get Guy Kid, maybe we get the three of you at some point. But
yeah.
I guess
Well,
final
guys
question
got guys
for
got 2 little kids, so that's why he always bails late night.
no worries, no worries. Um, Final question for anyone wondering, what's the entry fee for
15
Fight Club?
crystal, super easy. It's barely $1. No, not even. Is it? I gotta do
I
math.
it it's very reasonable at today's
Yeah,
prices.
yeah.
I'll say that much. Given what's at stake, prizes. You want to recap
Oh
prizes
yeah.
real quick?
Oh shit. I should have known this beforehand, but it's 3 or 4 Gen Zero summons. The Mythic Squad crew is given a pet. They've thrown that in there. Crystal prizes. Um, There's also some crystal prize. So sorry, let me throw this in there. If you participate, you get raffle. You get in the raffle. If you win, you get more raffle tickets, and then all these Gen Zero summons, all these like prizes are raffled off at the end. So you don't even have to win to get these prizes. There is a small crystal pool that you get if you end up winning. So there is a little bit if you win, but for the most part, these raffles are the big prizes, and just participating in it, you're eligible for all these different prizes.
Yeah, I did toss in a set of eggs for anyone who
I
gets.
should have said that. I feel bad now.
No. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I say it because it goes to illustrate you have a spectrum of prizes you could end up winning, and again, you don't have to win the tournament to get something, which is pretty awesome. So with that said, thank you all for joining me. I'm trying to do these at least once a week. With winter coming, I suspect my little one will get sick here and there, so we'll see how good I can keep up. But with that said, I do look forward to seeing you guys on the flip side. We'll definitely stay in touch. We'll do more of these.
For sure.
Matty,
and we want you on Bogside too. We'll get you on.
Yes,
get you on ours.
let's do that. Let's do that. Yeah. So MattyPesq signing off.
It's MattyPesq. Just say MattyPesq. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Now I gotta give you a hard time.
That's good. I love it. Yeah.
All right, cool. Catch you all later. Thanks for showing up. Appreciate it.
Thanks.